Hello, and welcome. My name is MiniBetrayal, and this is Factorio 1 per minute, episode 15. Now, we are about halfway through our big project, so I thought now would be a good time to do a bit of a catch-up, a bit of a base tour. So, for anyone who is new to the series, everything in this area here, so if you see this line here, basically north of that, plus a couple of the outposts, so any outpost with an underscore at the name of the train station, that is sort of my first initial base. That was just a normal base, just to get rockets going, do the science, that kind of thing. The major changes I have made to it since the end of building it is I did hop into creative mode just to put in these massive ore deposits here. So there's 20 billion, and 5.5 billion that just feed straight into copper, iron, and steel. That was just so I didn't have to keep going over and over again to find new outposts for the old base, which is just finished now. Everything else is the new base. The goal of this series is to make one of every in-game item each and every minute. So we have this massive main bus here. Everything is going onto this bus. So if we scooch down to the end of it here, you can see we've got... in fact, those steel chests are empty. Come up here, these steel chests here, these are sort of indicators of what's on each line. So satellites, rocket control units, low density structures are a little bit low at the moment because I think we're still building up satellites. Yep. Ammunition, modules, belts, power poles, liquid barrels, the actual liquids of course, all the ores, inserters, grenades and tank shells, that kind of thing. Everything is going on to the bus. So we'll just start at the beginning and I'll talk through what we've done so far. So this is my train station. All of my raw resources are being brought in by train. Now it's a kind of omni station, so all the trains, they have a parking section up here where they get fueled, and they will wait there until 2 seconds of inactivity, just to make sure that they have enough time to get fueled, and they receive a circuit signal. The circuit signal is controlled by this underneath each station. Those combinators, they figure out what kind of train it is, and then if we require more of that resource, it will send the first train, counting from the top down, of that resource over here. So we've just requested some iron, so the top iron train comes down into the unloading station where it will unload. The bots will pick it up, they'll take it from there into this buffer zone here and or over to the bus, and then it will move on to the actual outpost. So this is my closest iron outpost that is still operational. It first goes to a waiting station, and then it goes to the actual loading station itself. Again, it's all bot controlled at this end. Where's that train? There it is. So it goes to the waiting station, which you will see turns off. Just waits there for a second, and then it moves on to the outpost. My reasoning for that is made clearer in some of my other videos, and I have planned a sort of design tutorial video coming up, which will explain exactly how this works with the signals and everything, to avoid trains getting backed up and making sure that all of the outposts are visited. I do have a couple of outposts which are now empty and therefore completely turned off. This is turned off automatically when it runs out. So that iron outpost is dead. This copper outpost up here is nearly dead. There's just about 100,000 there. This copper outpost down here is very nearly dead, just 7.3 thousand left in it. But we have another large copper outpost down there, a couple of big ones up there as well. Okay, so that's for the iron, copper, coal, is also delivered that way, as is stone. Uranium is slightly different. The uranium has its own station over here, which unloads the same, but also loads up trains with sulfuric acid. And then they go to uranium stations, which are very similar, where they unload sulfuric acid and load up uranium ore. Liquids. We have 2 water trains that just come in, very simple. They go to the in station until it's empty, and 2 seconds of inactivity to make sure it gets fueled. This green signal here just enables me to turn off the whole thing if I want to. The oil, very similar. They go to oil parking for 2 seconds of inactivity and the station is enabled. Then they go to oil in down here to unload it, and then to the outpost to fill up. Fuel is delivered to the train station by this train here. It goes to this station, which is further down the bus, just to load up on the nuclear fuel, and then this station where it is, until it's empty and 5 seconds have passed, again just to make sure that it has enough time to fuel itself. This train here is a passenger train, which I can use to move around the base a bit faster. Raw resources I've not yet mentioned: wood and fish. While this is largely a vanilla playthrough, I have had to introduce 2 mods just to automate the collection of wood and fish together. So fish, they use a mod called, Vesepiles Aquafarm, which introduces this building here called an aquafarm. If you place it down near where a fish is, it will just infinitely generate fish. So that goes into this passive provider chest, and then I've got a train station over here, which will come and collect fish. Wood, we have another mod called tree cloning, which just introduces a new recipe in here. Yep, so what it does is it takes 1 raw wood, a hell of a lot of time, 300 seconds, and then it just produces 2 raw wood. So that means this is self-sustaining. The reason it's way out here is I did have a big forest that I tried to clear out using bots, but that didn't really work out, so I introduced this instead, and that's how wood gets delivered. Okay, so that just gets loaded onto the bus. We have 7 solid resources: iron ore, copper ore, coal, stone, uranium ore, wood and fish, or raw wood and fish, plus 2 liquid raw resources: water and crude oil. The sulfuric acid that you can see here is going backwards from the bus where it's made. We've got a nice big smelting area here. Actually, before I move on with the bus, I've got an indication area up here. So you can see lots of lights going on. If you're not new to the series, these 5 displays at the top, they are new. I will explain those presently. So this display here is a rough indication of how much of each of our 7 solid resources we have in the buffer here. So up to here, this level here is sort of how much we are requesting. If I mouse over this pole here, you can see we're requesting 10,000 coal. Actually that's everything divided by 10. If I mouse over this one here, look at the green signal, we are requesting 1 million copper, 1 million iron, 200,000 coal, O is the coal, 200,000 stone, 100,000 uranium, 30,000 wood, 2,500 fish. So everything up to this line here is a percentage of what I'm requesting. So if this light on this line is green, I have more than I'm requesting in the buffer system. Everything else, let's see, where am I? I'm over here. Let's just scooch up, have a look at these combinators on the side. Each additional light is another 4,000 that I have in the system. Okay. And these white lights here, if the lights are filled up to somewhere in these white lights, then I'm happy with the amount I have. This here is kind of an indication of whether I am increasing the amount of resources I have, so having more input than I'm using, or having or using more than I'm getting input. So this line here is an average over the last 20 minutes, which is calculated by these circuits down here. For every light it goes up. I think this one is so it's controlled by this one, I think. Yep, so if it's within 2% of the average, it will, over the last 20 minutes, it will light up this green line. Then if it's within 5%, the blue light, then 10%, there's a yellow light here. If I'm more than 10% above or below my average, we'll get a red light on the top or bottom lines. This display is an indication of how many trains I have at the moment. So you can see we only have the one wood train. It is green, therefore the wood train is at the parking station. We have, what is this? That goes to that one. We have 13 iron trains and therefore 10 copper trains. The red light means we have 2 trains which are out of the parking station at the moment. That might be because they're unloading at the moment, or on the way to the outpost, or on the way back from the outpost, that kind of thing. This displays an indication of how my bots are doing. So, how many bots do we have in the system? Over here. So we've got a little over 7,000 logistics bots. The more of them that are unavailable, this light will drop down. Again, this is just percentages, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100% available. And I put in construction bots as well. I haven't used construction bots. I've only got one construction bot in this network just to make these lights work. These displays up here, these are counters that display in real time the amount of resources I have in my buffer. So blue up here is iron. You can see we're below 1 million. Oh, it's just creeping up, so it's above 1 million. So it's a little bit difficult to read actually during the day. But you can see, what's that? 1,006,000 and stuff. And oh wow, excuse me. So that's iron ore, copper ore, coal, because you can't have a black light, stone, and uranium. So you'll see these fluctuate. Again, I have a similar episode planned that explains exactly how these counters work and how to build your own. Okay, then we move on to the bus. So we have smelting area first. So we've got a massive amount of iron ore smelting, a reasonably massive amount of copper ore smelting, and just a large amount of iron into steel smelting. Now everything is calculated so that if I put productivity modules in everything, I should have just enough by the time I get to the end of the bus to have one of every item. Oh, there's also a little bit of stone in here, stone smelting as well. So that's our smelting area. Next we move on to fluid processing. So we make barrels, we put things in barrels. So there's the first barrel there, crude oil. We've got other barrels further down as the things get made. Surprisingly, we don't need that much refining. This is my refinery setup. It looks like it's switched off at the moment. That will be because I have a surplus of everything. So this is a storage area. This is my production of lubricant, sulfur and sulfuric acid. Everything's running there, as well as solid fuel. There's barreling of sulfuric acid and lubricant. This is my storage system. So we've got 8 different types of fluid, including steam. Steam is also a fluid in the game. So that is made over here. It's literally just a boiler that takes in water, takes in coal, pumps out steam. Off the top of my head, the only recipe that requires steam is coal liquefaction, and I've not used any coal liquefaction. This is just ordinary advanced refining. Advanced oil processing. There you go. Okay, these extra tanks down here, this is a deep storage system. So if I have too much petrol, light oil or heavy oil in the system, it'll get pumped into the deep storage. If I have too little, it'll get pumped back out of deep storage and into the system. You can review my previous episodes to get a better explanation of how that works. Moving on from fluids, the next station we have interns here, so intermediate products. Not every intermediate product, I'm aware of that, but certainly everything in here is kind of an intermediate product. So first off we have nuclear stuff. So we have uranium ore coming in. Oh, we've got an attack coming on. That's fine, that was dealt with easily. Where was I? Ah, yes. So this is uranium ore processing, and then a Coverex setup here. So we are producing 235 and 238. They just go straight onto the bus. We then have batteries being made. Now, I actually forgot about batteries at the time, so this is sort of squeezed in the side here. It's not quite as neat, but batteries go onto the bus. We need surprisingly few gears to reach our 1 per minute. So we actually only need this setup here. I have thrown in an extra one down here because while I am building the bus, of course the bus is getting longer and longer each time. And because everything is calculated almost exactly, that means that while the bus is getting longer, I need more than 1 per minute. Because it will only work once everything is backed up. So I've thrown in an extra bit of gear making there. I've got pipes, iron sticks as well. We have iron sticks on the bus. Pipes, underground pipes. Plastic. We need, I think it works out as a little bit less than 3 belts worth of plastic. So there we go, that's all being made. Then copper cable. We need an awful lot of copper cable, almost 30 compressed blue belts worth of copper cable. So this is my system that does that. It siphons off the majority of the copper plate. So what's this? We had 12 belts of copper plate on the bus. After it we only have 2. So most of it comes down here. These are like lane balancers. So it doesn't matter what side is being taken off the bus. It'll draw from... Sorry, it doesn't matter what side things are being taken off the belt. At the other side of the lane balancer, it will take off evenly. Again, I have a video somewhere way back explaining that. So yeah, this makes our 30 belts worth of copper cable, the vast majority of which is instantly turned into green circuits in the next station, circuits. So we've got green, red and blue circuits all being made here. So we've got, what's that, 12 belts that looks like of green circuits. Some of that is turned into red circuits, so we only need a couple of belts of them. And then most of everything else is then turned into blue circuits. So this is my blue circuit production. So after all of that, those 30 belts of copper cable, they got turned into 2 green belts, 2 red belts, and a blue belt. Or belts of green, red and blue circuits, I should say. Next, we have a section entitled, inventively entitled, Bits and Bobs. These are just extra things that need to be made at some point, and I've thrown them in here because I can. So we've got our axes, repair packs, walls, gates, lamps, landfill, radars, quite a bit of concrete. Now we actually only need the first 4 concrete machines here, but some of our slower products later down the line, such as nuclear reactors and rocket silos, they need quite a bit of concrete, so I've thrown in an extra 2 concrete assembly machines there, plus our other 3 kinds of concrete, refined concrete and then hazard varieties. Then our bus does a 90-degree turn and we move into building. So this is stuff that you might need as you're building a base. So we have belts, 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 underground belts, underground belts, underground belts, splitters, 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 wood, because again I meant to put wood somewhere over here in the intermediate section, but I totally forgot about it. And we need it for the power poles, which I made a little bit further down. So yeah, I've thrown wood in here as well. Furnaces, furnaces, furnaces. We've got quite a bit of production here for accumulators and solar panels, because we need them for the satellite in reasonably large quantities. And then boilers as well. Hop over the rail line here. We have steam engines, nuclear, what's it called? Uranium fuel cells. And then this bit here, technically we only need 4 of these machines, but again, just to help the bus build up, I've thrown in a whole bunch of extra nuclear reactors. You'll notice they're not connected to anything, but of course a used up uranium fuel cell is an in-game item, so we need to produce 1 of them per minute. So that's what these 4 are for. The others, again, are just to help build things up in the meantime. And then, of course, nuclear reactors themselves are on the bus. Other nuclear powery kind of stuff, so our heat pipes, heat exchangers and steam turbines are there. And then the power poles, so small, medium, large and substations. Then we have our next section, which has quite a bit in it. Inserters, assembly machines, modules and engines. So we've got all our modules there: speed, 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 productivity, 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 and efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. Again, all calculated, so we'll get 1 per minute of everything by the end. Then we have beacons as well, because, I've used a lot of beacons in this setup. In fact, I think if I look at my power, so running mostly at idle at the moment, over half of my current power usage at idle is beacons, over 2,000 of them. Luckily, I have quite a large power station up here. So what's that one? So we've got 8 slots of 4 nuclear reactors. And when everything gets turned on, this gets used. This base can easily draw like 3 and a bit gigawatts at the moment. Okay, so after beacons we have the assembly machines, 1, 2 and 3. And then on the other side we have inserters. So if we come just up to the top here, burner inserters, normal inserters, long-handed inserters, fast inserters, filter inserters, stack filter inserters. We have mining drills as well, so normal and electric. And then our engines, so normal engines and electric engines. Then I think our next section is military. Military and rocketry, there we go. So on this side we have artillery cannons and artillery wagons. Hop over the train line again. Targeting remotes for artillery. Then shotgun shells, piercing shotgun shells, explosives, cannon shells, explosive cannon shells, uranium cannon shells, explosive uranium cannon shells, rockets, explosive rockets and atomic bombs, grenades, cluster grenades, landmines. I'd actually forgotten they were an item because I've never used them. And of course cannon shells. Artillery shells. And then on this side we have a little bit more in the way of military stuff up the top. We've got firearms magazines, piercing magazines, uranium magazines, flamethrower fuel, plus a random chest of stuff that I had. Let's pick that up. And then rocket stuff, so rocket fuel, low-density structures, and rocket control units. Now you'll notice for a normal megabase, you have a hell of a lot more of these, but because the rocket itself is not an in-game item, it's just something that's used to get an in-game item, which is the space science, of course. And 1 rocket will get you 1,000 space science. Therefore, instead of the normal megabase, which makes like a rocket per minute, I need 1 rocket every 1,000 minutes. So I don't need to make this stuff that quickly, which is, even though they are sped up here, I can get away with relatively few actual machines. Then satellites, of course. Satellites, they're actually made pretty quickly in 5 seconds, so the limiting factor here is the low-density structures. But again, everything is calculated, so once it all backs up, we will be making 1 per minute. And then rocket silos. There can't be many bases which have rocket silos on a main bus, but there you go. That's being made. Again, the limiting factor there is actually is the inserters in this case, but there is enough here to get the necessary throughput. Then we have the nuclear fuel. It is prioritized here to go onto the bus, as you can see, but it's got this extra little split off to this station here, which is called rocketry fuel out. That is where the train that we pointed to earlier, this one, that's where it gets its fuel from, so it'll come in here. And then the next station, the most recent one I've done, is science. So just 7 science packs: red, green, blue, grey, purple, yellow, and space science. So this is my rocket setup. Yeah, it's waiting on the low density structures at the moment. There is a little circuit signal in here, so it will only launch a rocket once this chest here is empty. So we won't be launching unnecessary rockets. If you look at my original base, I have rockets going on up here. This is the one that's actually launching. It has the same kind of circuit setup. So while these chests have stuff in them, I won't launch additional rockets, just to help save on materials. In fact, I'm not doing any science at the moment, so yeah, the old base is completely inactive. And then labs. So 7 sciences and labs. So this is where we are at the moment. A little bit of a gap before I can do the next episode, because yeah, I kind of ran into an ocean, so I've been making ridiculous amounts of landfill. Let's see, landfill is made up here. So yeah, we've currently got 32,000 in the logistics. That will probably get me about that far. So yeah, we'll have to keep going with that. So yeah, that's about where we are at the moment. We've recently passed a couple of milestones. So you can see, since the end of the last episode, we have launched our 500th rocket. So doing well on that front there. There's a good little workhorse, that rocket silo there. These extra 2, they're not hooked up to anything. You know, they've got a rocket ready to go, but they haven't really been used apart from, I think it was the series finale of my original Factorio series where I built the original base. We have, science-wise, we have finished mining productivity 100. So if I am nowhere near any outposts, tell you what I'll do. I will call a train to me. There we go. So that's on its way. We'll go and have a look at that in a minute. And my original Coverx setup, way back in the original series, I built this. It's since been moved, but it is a ridiculously over-engineered Coverx setup with the idea that it would never back up. It has backed up, finally. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and a bit full chests of uranium-235. So the only reason this is still doing little bits and bobs is because I'm occasionally making nukes so I can go out and kill biters, and with the uranium fuel here, mostly it's being used actually by the uranium fuel cells for my power station. But yes, this is finally backed up. But yeah, this has been chugging along for probably well over 100 hours by now, just slowly building up. It's designed such that it will make approximately 1, 2, 3, 5 every 20 seconds or so. Yeah, somewhere between every 20 and 30 seconds. But yeah, finally backed up. Let's see, is that train here yet? It should be. Let's go and hop on a train and go and find ourselves an outpost. Okay, so you can see here I've got a number of passenger stations, one of which is red. So at most of my outposts I have a passenger station which is deliberately turned off. So let's hop to this one out here. So to turn it back on, I just have to switch that and the station will turn back on, and then this train will have somewhere to go. That way, if I need to get to an outpost quickly, I can just take the train there. I don't have to drive it manually. Alright, let's sit back and relax while this takes us where we need to be. Here we are, and yeah, I wasn't going to show you anything special other than the fact that now we have our mining productivity up so high. We are producing twice as much from the productivity than we are from the actual mining. So, yeah. Let's see. So these outposts should last us a good long while. Let's continue with some science. Let's see, need another 32,000 science for the next worker robot speed. What else have we got? Don't really need any of the bullet damage ones. Let's get started on worker robot speed 11. So that should, I mean, if I look at this, we're already, where are my bots up here? Yeah, they're already going nearly 6 times faster than they ordinarily do, but, you know, an extra little bit of speed didn't hurt anyone. Alright, okay, so, next episode, oh, I forgot I put this in here. This is a power switch that I can activate remotely to just switch off that entire station. Let's turn it back on or things will break. I think I might have put some of those on these other ones as well. Have I got a power switch? Yeah, I got one down there. Presumably one down on this one as well. Alright, yeah, so yeah. Next episode, or before the next episode, I will clear out this base. Assuming they are finished by then, I will also clear out this base. That one should be finished. And this one as well. Yeah, it looks like it'll be finished by the time I'm ready to record another episode. Let's head back to... Well, let's turn off that station first. Let's head back to my Omni station. Okay, so... yeah, that's about all we have left to talk about. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon.